In this video, we're going to continue working on the ASUS Zephyrus G502 laptop that came in yesterday. We worked on the board yesterday. I uploaded the video. In case you have not watched the video, I highly recommend that you watch it. A lot of good information, but in case you have not watched it, let me quickly recap. We went over the board. That's how the board looks like. And no short circuit. The board looks good. We inspected the board front and back, visual inspection, everything passed. No damaged components, no blown components, no burnt components, no liquid metal, everything passes. So what's going on? We inspected the board under a thermal camera, and a chip on back of the board got really hot. This one right here, the 1285A. When the 1285A chip gets hot, it does not mean the chip is bad. What does the chip do? It supplies 3.3 volts. It makes 3.3 volts and 5 volts. Without those voltages, the board will not work. The board or the laptop will be dead. Now, I explained how the 1285A chip, it supplies power to the Super I/O chip that we removed yesterday. Pin number 3 of the 1285A chip should read 3.3 volts, but it was reading 0.8 volts. So I suspected the 1285A chip, the Super I/O chip, is pulling down the voltage. This one here. The 1285A chip sends 3.3 volts to the Super I/O chip. Once the chip powers on, then it communicates with the 1285A chip, and it enables enable 1 and enable 2 on the chip, and by doing so we get 5 volts on pin number 13. Right now we do not have pin number 13 because enable 1 and enable 2 are not present, because the Super I/O chip is bad, because we are not able to send 3.3 volts onto the Super I/O chip. It's bringing the voltage down. So all in all, it came down that the Super I/O chip is what's causing the issue. We removed the chip, and we came back here and we measured for 3.3 volts, and we got it. We now have 3.3 volts. The problem is not the chip, but we do have 3.3 volts. Of course, we're not going to be able to test for 5 volts now because we do not have the Super I/O chip. Enable 1, enable 2 are not present on the 1285A chip right now. If this is too confusing, just watch yesterday's video and follow along. Now, in yesterday's video, it was end of the day, and I told you I'm going to try to extract a similar chip from a donor board. I do have a donor board, the same model. Hopefully, the donor chip that we're going to remove is functional. I do not know what's wrong with the donors that we have in the bin here, but the only other option would be to purchase a brand new Super I/O chip, and the system is going to program the chip by itself from BIOS. So we got the chip, we put it in. As soon as we turn the laptop on, it's going to program the chip, and we do not have to do any programming. Right now, I have a similar board with the same chip. We're going to try it and see if that chip will work. We're going to remove the chip. We're going to reball the chip, even though we do not have a stencil for that chip, but we'll try to use a universal stencil. It's going to be difficult because middle of the chip is empty, but at least we can try it. If it doesn't work, then we'll just order a brand new chip, save ourselves the hassle. And then by doing that, by buying a brand new one, we know that the chip is good. Unlike now, I'm going to extract this chip, but I do not know if it's good to begin with or not good. Just for the sake of this video, let's remove it, reball it, so you can see the process. I do not want to confuse this chip with the one that we removed yesterday, which is still on my bench, so let me throw away the old one. Beautiful. We used NF.Flux white. I love the Flux. I love it. It does not gum up. So smooth, so easy to clean. And if you do not already have it, you can log into our website, NorthridgeFix.com, click on shop, add to cart, along with any tool that you need. And we almost always ship out same day. Let me grab a universal stencil. We have a lot of stencils, and I just want to see which one works for this chip. This one here is not good. The holes do not align. The holes do not align. This one is not good, a bit off. And I have one that I use on the Mercedes-Benz key fobs. It's different. I have this one here. This will not work. I have a lot of iPhone stencils, Samsung stencils. Let me try this one here. This one is a bit too small. This one is not good. And this one is perfect, right there. That's the one. This one is perfect, but we need to clean it because it looks like I've used that one before. You can see some solder balls inside the holes. Just a tiny bit of flux. And that's how you clean a stencil. Not by applying flux, but we need our soldering iron. We're gonna put the braid wick and just go over the stencil. The flux is so smooth, the wick will just slip and slide. You see how the flux does not gum up? Amazing. I can talk about it all day, but when you see it in action, it's different. Very nice. We did an amazing job. We did not have the right stencil, but we managed. What happens is solder balls on the empty areas of the chip will tend to go in and stick to other solder balls on the chip. That did not happen to us. We were careful, and we did an awesome job. I lost the cover for my thermal paste jar. I'll find it. Let's go ahead and solder the chip on the customer's board. Big Boss is not here today, so I will need to assemble this myself. Just the basics, so we can try it. If this does not work, then probably the chip is bad to begin with, and I'm not going to waste my time extracting one from another board. I'm just going to order one, a brand new one, and we can solder it when we have it. But just for the sake of this video, I wanted to do this so you can see the process. All right. So we need to solder it right here. We already cleaned the pads yesterday. And we are using NF.Flux White, which does amazing when reballing, because it does not gum up. And we did an amazing job. We pushed it, it pulled back. Surface tension makes the solder balls grab on to the pads. We know that the chip is soldered on nicely because we pushed it and it pulled back. We're all set. We are all done. If the chip is good, we should have a working laptop. Now, if the laptop still does not work, before trying anything else and going into a rabbit hole, we're gonna order a brand new chip, solder it, and see what happens. So the chip goes right here. And we're all set. And I still did not find that cover. It was probably sucked by my fume extractor, most likely. Yeah. Now that we replaced the Super I/O chip, we rebolted it, we soldered the chip back on the board. Let me plug the charging cable, and we're gonna inspect the board under a thermal camera. And we're gonna monitor. Oh, the same exact heat spot is back. Are you kidding me? Yeah, the same exact heat spot is back. Let me measure pin number 3. We are back to ground zero. The Super I/O chip that we extracted from the donor board is likely faulty also. Right now, I'm not gonna do any more measurements on the board. I'm gonna order a new chip, solder it on the board, and then we'll take it from there. I just wanted to share the process with you. I could easily not post this video, but I wanna show you what goes on sometimes when fixing a laptop. You have to try a couple of times. As long as we see a light at the end of the tunnel, we keep working on it. We know that the Super I/O chip is dragging down the voltage from 3.3 volts to 0.8 volts. When we removed the chip, we got 3.3 volts on the 1285A chip. So I'm almost 99% sure the problem is the Super I/O chip, the one that we removed from the donor, rebolted and soldered on this board may not be good to begin with, but it's all right. I showed you the process. We're gonna have to order the chip, and those chips are not available in the US. We're gonna have to order it from China and wait around 2 weeks. I'll let the customer know. We're gonna end the video right here. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Leave it down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll do something else in the next video.